Daveeezy, we back with another video. I ain't gonna waste enough time, y'all. We'll get right to the video. Let's go.
I just want to say before we begin, these are all Biden trials. This is done as election interference. Everybody knows it. I'm here instead of being able to be in Pennsylvania and Georgia and lots of other places campaigning. And it's very unfair.
There's this theory that this administration has somehow weaponized the government. There is not this acknowledgement that the other guy just is a criminal. Every time we come into this committee, it seems like maybe once few months, we got to start blaming these government workers for not going to work because they lazy. That's what we hear, is that all of our problems in the world are because of telework. If I had a dime for every time we blamed telework, then I may have enough money to pay Trump's legal fees for his 4 criminal indictments.
He's already dead.
There's one thing that Texas Democrat Jasmine Crockett is going to do is drop some facts while simultaneously throwing shade, which is well deserved, at the former president.
There were some questions posed to you specifically about debt, and there seemed to be a concern about the mounting debt, and I am going out on a limb and I am going to ask you if you are aware of how much debt we added under the Trump administration, out of curiosity. $8 trillion was added under the Trump administration. And so I think that it is important that we focus on making sure that we're keeping our debt under control, but I think it's also important that we're honest about how that debt is accrued and make sure that we don't continue to make the same mistakes.
During House Oversight Committee hearing on the Office of Management and Budget, certain Republicans noted their concern over the national debt. You know, the thing that they had no problem sending into the stratosphere under the Trump administration, the tune of around $8 trillion. This, of course, was fine when their cult leader was in office, but now it's an issue that has to be addressed.
I mean, the truth of the fact is, we have to seriously look. This is a man that put us $8 trillion in debt in just 4 years. Think about that. This is a man who praised China's President Xi a dozen times after China gave us COVID. This is a man who now wants to go and put 10% tariffs across the board, raising taxes on every single American. Think about that for a second. That's what we're talking about. This is a man who continues to go and talk about himself and distracted with all the other things. But that night in New Hampshire, after the court case, he's never once talked about the American people. He's never once talked about how we're going to get the country back on.
It was here that Texas Democrat Jasmine Crockett reminded her Republican colleagues of the fact that Donald Trump skyrocketed the national debt in order to offer tax cuts to the 1%.
$8 trillion was added under the Trump administration. And so I think that it is important that we focus on making sure that we're keeping our debt under control, but I think it's also important that we're honest about how that debt is accrued and make sure that we don't continue to make the same mistakes. I know that the election was brought up and there are those that are standing by their man, but they also seem to be concerned about debt, which seems like the two don't go together, because we know that their man actually is really good at running up the credit card debt for this country, because he likes to give tax breaks to his very rich friends, which means that we don't get as much money coming through the door when they are not required to pay their fair share. So I just wanted to make sure that we put that out there first and foremost.
Before then going on to ridicule them over their inability to comprehend that their frontrunner might be a criminal.
Until now, no American president had ever faced a criminal trial. No American president had ever faced a federal indictment for retaining and concealing classified documents. No American president had ever faced a federal indictment or a state indictment for trying to overturn an election, or been named an unindicted co-conspirator in 2 other states for the same crime. No American president ever faced hundreds of millions of dollars in judgments for business fraud, defamation, and sexual abuse. Until now, no American presidential race had been more defined by what's happening in courtrooms than what's happening on the campaign trail. Until now.
And so, in turn, they blame everything on Joe Biden and allege that he is weaponizing the Justice Department in order to come after his opponent. Something that even a CNN employee who is paid to fact-check Trump is getting a little tired of fact-checking him on said lies and disinformation.
Former President Trump said this is a Biden trial, or this is a Biden indictment, or Biden is the one who brought this case. I come out here and note correctly that that's not true. It's completely baseless. Again, for the I don't know how many times I've said this. This was a case brought by a locally elected prosecutor, Alvin Bragg. There is precisely zero evidence that President Biden has had any personal role in bringing the case. Former President Trump keeps invoking former DOJ official Matthew Colangelo, who went to work for DA Bragg's office. There is no basis for any suggestion that President Biden personally put him there, ordered him there, etc. And then we had this laundry list of other claims. So former President Trump, said he should be campaigning in various states. Perhaps he would have been. We can't, check that hypothetical. But our Kristen Holmes keeps noting that even on the off days that former President Trump has, he tends to not be scheduling campaign events. He tends to be at Mar-a-Lago on the golf course. So the idea that he'd be out campaigning every day he's in court, I think, is dubious at best. Then he repeated a claim about another case, the Judge Engoron case, where he keeps saying Judge Engoron turned down the appellate division and refused to honor the decision of the appeals court in the civil fraud case involving Trump, his sons, and his company. That's not what happened. Engoron interpreted an appeals court decision in a way that former President Trump didn't like, did not reject it. And then I'll just note that at the same time, former President Trump said that Judge Merchan, presiding over this case, is rushing this case through, and then that someone said to him, "I've never sat this long in court before." So he's simultaneously complaining, like literally almost in the same breath, the judge is making this go too fast and also is making it go too slow. It's not really a fact check, but just wanted to note it, Jake.
Well, it's like saying that President Biden is a doddering, senile old fool who is also at the same time a criminal mastermind operating all of these different trials. I mean,
I recently was appointed to the weaponization subcommittee. And so I'm going to have plenty of long days ahead of me, kind of like what I have here on oversight. But the point of the weaponization committee was to have a conversation about the government being weaponized in a way so that people could somehow get some personal gain, because there's this theory that this administration has somehow weaponized the government. There is not this acknowledgement that the other guy just is a criminal, because that's just too hard to believe, even though he currently is sitting in New York facing criminal charges that were not brought by the federal government, but instead by state government. Nevertheless, so when I think about weaponization, I honestly can only think about Trump and his administration and all the work that he did to harm federal employees. So to be clear, Trump's 2020 executive order would have effectively gutted civil service job protections for workers across the federal government. Trump would have created politically charged firings of potentially thousands of federal workers and made these public servants subject to the whims of a political dictator and his posse rather than the adherence of the tenets of our Constitution. So let's be clear. Individuals pursuing public service do so largely because of their belief in government. I'm sure you can make a lot more money if you just decided to go elsewhere in private industry. A lot of us could, honestly. But if this rule is implemented, it would destroy the little bit of foundation and structure public servants still have that allowed them to put people over politics. How do I know this? Because Trump and his Republican lackeys stated they felt nonpartisan bureaucrats were hampering Trump's policies, and he wanted to, quote, shatter the deep state.
If there was an area that I would pick at here regarding Jasmine Crockett's response, is that I don't believe that Republicans simply can't fathom the idea that their frontrunner is a criminal. I think they know all too well. See examples A through Z of fellow Republicans speaking out against the conduct of the former president, but then also see those same people vowing to vote for him come November.
Down to the
I want to see you debate Donald Trump.
I would pay to do that. If that coward would get on the stage with anybody, any of us would love to. Please.
You don't do the name calling.
No, he's a coward.
On the policy front, you have zero concern that Donald Trump would do something to disrupt the election or disrupt any of the institutions that matter as a form of governance if he were to become president again. You have zero concern about that.
No, look, I don't think anyone has zero concern that either side would absolutely accept the result of the election. Obviously, the election denial stuff is terrible. The January 6th stuff was terrible, but those are not disqualifiers. If you think that's a disqualifying issue, I respect that. I don't agree with it, but I respect it. I'm not going to judge you for it. But don't judge us on the other side that say, hey, policies matter.
And that right there tells you everything. They have very malleable moral red lines. They know he's a criminal. They just don't care. They knew when supporting him the first time around of the very well documented plethora of sexual misconduct accusations, which was backed up by his own words that he said and was recorded saying,
This video, I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the you can do anything. That's what you said, correct?
Well, historically, that's true with stars.
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the
Well, that's what it's. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
And you consider yourself to be a star.
I think you can say that, yeah.
but still, they didn't care. And now, despite the fact that he has been found liable of sexual assault and paid out millions as a result, they still don't care. They knew of his very well documented past of discrimination regarding tenants in his buildings and the fact that he took out a full page spread in the New York Times to call for the death penalty of young black teens who were wrongfully accused and now exonerated, which he still has not apologized for, by the way. They knew of that when they supported him. They still know of his bigotry.
On day one of the Trump presidency, I'm restoring the travel ban, suspending refugee admissions.
They just don't care. I think the Republicans can absolutely fathom the idea that their frontrunner is a criminal. It's a future without power that they cannot fathom. So they'll get in line, regardless of the 88 felony counts and however many he will accumulate, I'm sure, in the future.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up.
Did Trump just admit about sexual stuff to the media? What is going on, bro? Like I told you, I'm Modest Touch. They just tell y'all the truth, man, because from what I know, because what the hell is going on, man? This is sad, bro. She totally destroyed Donald Trump and his victimhood narrative. So sick of Trump and his BS. I'm a Texan. Republicans have went too far and are out of control. I love this woman. She's very good at her job. She's intelligent, well-spoken, stylish, and prepared. Even Republicans are saying F Trump. He's a criminal. This is insane. Y'all let me know down in the comment section what y'all feel, how y'all feel. If you like the video, like the video. Now you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to get notified when I upload, y'all. This is insane. I'm for it all, though. This is so interesting to me. So I'm gonna get on to the next one, y'all. Gonna pump out these videos every single day. Let's get to 10K, y'all, please. Let's go. I love y'all. Peace and love. And we out.